Zeiss have just announced the new 85mm Otus. I've been lucky to be testing it for the last couple of months and the results are astounding. When I first tested the 55mm Otus from Zeiss, it blew my mind. The sharpest, most contrasty, highest resolving, and just overall best performing lens I'd ever tested. It really set a new benchmark for what was possible, and it quickly became my most used lens, changing the whole way I shoot my portraits just so I could use this one. So it set an incredibly high benchmark for the 85. Fortunately, the 85 more than lives up to it.
The lens design is similar to the 55mm Otus. It's got 11 elements in 9 groups, and again it's using the special glass that's worth more than gold. That massive front element on this one is actually concave in shape, which is really unusual. Now this is a really big heavy lens. Compared to other 85s it dwarfs them, but comparing it to the 55 it hasn't grown that much overall. Whilst it's wider, it's actually a little bit shorter. The Nikon mount includes manual aperture 1.4 through to 16, which means you can use this on all your old film cameras. Like the 55, the rear element is not sealed, and it is retaining the bright yellow markings from the Zeiss Cinema lens range.
The build quality of the 85 Otus is astonishing. It's almost 1.2 kilograms, which is just ridiculous in 35mm standards. At its widest, it's 10 centimeters wide, and the front filter thread is 86 millimeters.
Talk is talk. Let's look at some images. Here we go at f6.3. Obviously these have been lit. There's just a crazy amount of detail going in there, just seeing all of the skin pores and fine hairs. Of course, some of the detail will be lost here by compression. You can go to Matt Granger /Otus 85mm and there'll be full resolution images there. This one also at f5. Going in close there on 100% crop on the mouth. You can see this lens is just resolving so much detail. I really think this is out-resolving the D800 sensor.
As a portrait photographer, 85mm is one of my most used and loved focal lengths. I often use the great Nikon 85mm 1.4G, but it's just not as sharp or contrasty wide open. Few lenses are, so I usually am stopping it down to f2, 2.8 to get good results. Fortunately, just like the 55mm, the 85mm Otus is astonishing. Even wide open, it gets results that just blows everything else out of the water.
So there we go, at f1.4, again this was lit, but it was handheld, and it's just supremely beautiful, the amount of detail and the fall off you're getting there. It has a real medium format kind of look to the way the light falls off. And here, in natural light situation, again, tiny depth of field, but when you look at the 100% crop, that's pixel for pixel, it's just phenomenal the detail you're getting.
A big part of apparent sharpness is the contrast that a lens can achieve. So shooting black and white text is a really simple way of showing how sharp an image that it can get and the contrast from white to black. Looking at the Nikon 85 1.4G, this is no slouch in terms of this. It's one of the best performing lenses that Nikon makes.
I mean that quite seriously. Independent testing says that the 85 is the second sharpest and highest performing in terms of image quality of any Nikon lens that's currently in production. Going in close there, if you've never done this test, I can tell you that's a really good result. But here, compare it to the Otus. Blacks are super black, pin sharp black, and the whites are white. And you can see a clear line of focus. Going back to the Nikon, it looks like kind of a nice soft blur coming off, but you realize that's actually just that none of it was terribly sharp. Putting them side by side, it's really apparent. You see how much blacker the blacks are and how crisp the contrast is, while still maintaining a beautiful blur in the foreground and background on the Zeiss. And that translates to whatever you're shooting.
Look, manually focusing with this 85, it's even easier than the 55. For whatever reason, I think the magnification really helps. You're in and you can see it clearly with the eye. Obviously, the focus confirmation really helps. Manual focusing with lenses that aren't built for manual focus is a real pain, but this is its only manual focus and it's a dream to shoot with. The barrel is so enormous and it's got 261 degrees of rotation for your full focus range. So it's really easy to make minute adjustments.
I was fortunate to take this one throughout Asia, North and South America as well. So let's take a look at some shots. Just look at the beautiful fall off in the background, even though that was at f4.5. Here again at f4, let's go in on 100% crop. It's so sharp where you want it, but the background just melts away to nothing. Likewise, this one in the hills of the Andes in Peru. Incredible amount of detail through her face, but beautifully soft background. Here in Central Park in New York, difficult lighting situation, backlit, but you can see it handles it really nicely. The blacks are still black and crisp. Look at the pattern on her pants and the pillars there, really nice. 85mm isn't just for portraits. Here at Machu Picchu, going in on a crop on the edge down the bottom, crazy amount of detail through the rock work. And then here's one of the guides we had on the Peru tour. Beautiful portrait, and again, the way the background blows out is just magic.
There's something magical about the bokeh you achieve with an Otus lens. At wide open or even at f2, it's got this beautifully diffused background, but it also has kind of a circular swirl through it. But even as you stop down, the way it falls off is really quite unique. So overall thoughts on this guy. At $4,500, it's certainly an expensive and a serious proposition if you're gonna get this one. It's 3 times more expensive than the Nikon 1.4G. But if you think of it as a ratio, the 55mm Otus is 8 times the price of the Nikon 1.4G 50mm. So in those regards, it's gotten better, but it's still a big expense. That said, if you compare this to something like the Leica Summicron APO 50mm f2, then this is half the price of that one. And I know this will shock some people, but honestly, the Zeiss Otus lenses that I've tested completely blow away any Leica lenses that I've tested. They're just that good. So look, the 55mm was already in my mind head and shoulders above the rest of the market in terms of lens design and optical performance. The 85 takes it up another notch. And the way that it functions, the even bigger focus throw, I think it's better. It's now my new favorite lens. It's phenomenal. But at that price, is it worth the premium over the other 85s in the market, which are optically very good as well? That's going to depend on your budget and requirements, but stay tuned. I will be putting out a 4-way comparison showing this one side by side with the 85mm 1.4G from Nikon, the 85mm 1.4 from Sigma, and the 85 1.2L from Canon. Stay tuned. I'll see you soon.